Okay, so I'm back after a long pause, and I wanted to try this channel that I've just discovered. And I found a couple of the videos really thought provoking, and then I picked out a third that I haven't seen yet, and I'd like to react to that one. And in case you're wondering about the long pause, let me show you. So if you go to my channel here, you go to posts. You can see I've got a couple of posts about it. Don't really feel like talking about it, but if you look at my videos, see, it's been 8 days since anything was uploaded, and this was actually like recorded a day or two before I uploaded it. So yeah, it's been a bit. It's been a bit on my channel, but this guy here, like I said, I just discovered his channel, and I actually had this video get recommended to me, and I watched the whole thing because the Ariana Grande stuff is it's just such a train wreck. It's such a train wreck. And then I got this video recommended to me afterwards and watched that as well on a similar topic, and I was like, oh wow, that's really something. So yeah, these two videos I've already watched through entirely and definitely recommend these two. And then I decided, hey, I should react to a video from his channel. So I was just sort of looking at it. And this thing here caught my eye. It's not very long, only about 8 minutes. And I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah, the Washington miracles. Yeah, I definitely want to watch that. So I'm not sure which miracle they're referring to. They say the Washington miracle as if there was just one of them, but yeah, there were a bunch of them that they just really don't like to mention in the history books. But they're well attested as far as pretty much anything normal that happened, and the normal stuff that happened, they're like, oh yeah, this definitely happened because a couple guys wrote it down that it happened. But the miracle stuff, they're like, well, this looks like a miracle, so maybe it didn't really happen. Even if there were like 5 different guys that wrote it down or whatever. So yeah, for the miracle stuff, they really, no matter how many people saw it or wrote about it or whatever, they don't like to put that in the history books. They're like, we'll just ignore that. But the other stuff we'll figure is really reliable. So that's sort of just what they do with history books. They did it with Joan of Arc, too. They did it with Joan of Arc and loads of other figures. But yeah, there's a bunch of them I've heard about. And of course, you don't really know if all of them are true or not. But, they could be. They could be. And there's a lot of stories. Yeah, it's not just one miracle. But I'm kind of speculating that they might be talking about. I've got to open another window. We'll figure out what they're talking about when we react to the video. But might be talking about the Valley Forge vision. Yeah, the Valley Forge vision. So this is a pretty famous vision I've heard about before. I'll put these links in my description. So yeah. So he seemingly had a vision here. Yeah, let me read a little bit of this to you. The last time I ever saw Anthony Sherman was on the 4th of July, 1859, in Independence Square. He was then 99 years old and becoming very feeble. But though so old, his dimming eyes rekindled as he gazed upon Independence Hall, which he came to visit once more. Let us go into the hall, he said. I want to tell you of an incident of Washington's life, one which no one alive knows of except myself, and if you live, you will before long see it verified. And then they've got a painting showing Independence Hall. Yep. And this is actually from this. This is a scan of the actual paper. Look at this. December of 1880, where apparently this is where it originally was from. So Washington's dream or Washington's vision. Right here it is. The last time I ever saw Anthony Sherman, see, it's the exact same stuff right here, right here. Okay, so yeah, I'll put this link in the description too. I don't want to spend too much long on the context before I get to the actual react, because, you know, I'm one of those reactors that will sit there and ramble about context or predictions for sometimes 5 or 10 minutes before I get to the actual reaction video. Okay, so let's go in here and see what this guy has to say. So this channel, Whaddo You Meme, was really impressed by this video and this video, and seems to be a really good content creator. So let's see what he has to say right here. Let's go in.
For well over a century,
Okay, and now we're going to pause for more context. Yeah. Okay, reading the description only, though. Yeah, reading the description. Okay, so he says, if you plan to go see it this 4th of July, use... this is a affiliate thing. Okay, let's go to the next paragraph. Okay, so for over a century, the story of George Washington's miraculous survival. Oh, is that the one where he went in front of the British and they were all using their weapons, and then he sort of like shook his jacket and all the bullets fell out? Is that story? Yeah, that's another famous one. I wonder if it's going to be that one. The story of George Washington's miraculous survival was standard in American history textbooks before it was quietly removed. I watched Angel Studios and Wonder Project's latest movie, Young Washington, early and wanted to give my review. Okay, so this is actually a movie review, so he's going to talk about the miracle and he's going to review this movie. Okay, I didn't realize it was a movie review, but that is cool. And also why I think the movie highlights something important that Christians can take away from it. Okay. Yeah, so I wanted to mention a little bit. I sometimes talk about the 3 churches of my childhood. My parents would go to different churches, and so three different denominations. And I sort of obfuscate information about my past. I change about 5% of the details. That's a standard thing I tell everyone. Change about 5% of the details. So everything you hear me tell about my past, about 95% true. But yeah, one of those churches, Protestant church, I refer to it by the nickname the Hillbilly Faith Healing Church. And yeah, it had beliefs that yeah, if you're a Christian and you really believe and you pray for powers, that God gives you powers, such as having prophetic visions, or, you know, surviving things that you would be very unlikely to survive when you go into danger, especially if you're trying to help people. So okay, so let's go look at this. And now we're ready to actually do the reaction after tons of context and reading the description. Let's go in.
For well over a century, the story of God miraculously saving George Washington was standard in American history textbooks. Hundreds of shots fired at him, the horses killed beneath him, and bullets through his coat were treated as historical fact. But in
Oh yeah, it is that one. It is that one. It's not the vision. It's this one. Okay, yeah. Those 2 things are, I think, the 2 most famous ones, but there were other ones too. Yeah, there were other ones too.
1934, it was quietly removed, scrubbed by those skeptical of God's intervention in human affairs. So an entire generation grew up learning about Washington the founder, but not Washington, the man that those who tried to kill him said was protected by God and couldn't be killed. And that's the story that Angel Studios and Wonder Project are telling this 4th of July, and I was fortunate enough to see it early. But what...
Well, Angel Studios, they did a really good job with Sound of Freedom, which incredibly impressed everyone and had just this incredible reputation. But there have been scandals after that, and people have said that they're just grifters now. So I wonder, did they actually do a good job with this movie, or is this going to be another scandal? I'm not sure. Okay, let's keep going.
What caught me off guard about the film was the fact that the man that God chose to protect was also the man most likely to destroy everything God was building. So, Young Washington follows America's most famous founding father, but not the Washington you know. It actually takes place decades before his presidency, before the Revolution, before any of that. It's about the 22-year-old soldier who is ambitious, hungry to prove himself, which leads him to making a catastrophic mistake that helps him trigger one of the largest conflicts of the 18th century. And what makes this film so interesting is that it gives you a Washington who fell publicly, let people die, and had to face the consequences of what he'd done. And it's through this that we see God show up the most. But before we get into that, we should start with what I liked, what I disliked from a production standpoint, before discussing the spiritual significance of the film from a Christian perspective. So when it comes to the production, the movie definitely earns its place on the big screen. The cast alone signals that this isn't a low-budget faith project. Veteran actors like Kelsey Grammer and Ben Kingsley have that kind of presence that make every scene feel weightier, and the actor playing Washington does an excellent job capturing the ambitions of a young officer desperate to prove himself.
Okay, so I'm not quite sure why they chose to focus on this period in George Washington's life, but it does sound like they did a good job from what he is saying. Yeah. So let me go and look at Angel Studios. So Angel Studios. And let's try the keyword scandal. Yeah, let's try scandal. Because they've been like real life fake wizard has this one, and from 3 months ago, this one. Yeah, so yeah, they've had a bad reputation lately. So even though they had a really good reputation previously. Okay, let's go in and look at this some more.
The visuals match that standard. The costumes, the set design, the cinematography, they all create colonial America with a level of authenticity that I didn't expect for some reason. You have these
when you look at these, look at all of these scenes of colonial America and look at how dirty everything is. And that's real history, is that things were dirty, on the street and on farms and, on the fishing wharves and all the different places where people were. It's like it was a dirty time. People were dirty unless you had, a better income or a lot of servants to clean it up. And look at their clothing. People didn't wash clothes as much as we do now. They would do things like they would have removable collars so that the places where they would sweat the most, they could remove just that part of the clothing and clean it more often, because the rest of it they didn't clean very often at all. Yeah. So people were living in filthier conditions.
Distinctions and the British aristocrats that really create this tension between worlds that Washington had to navigate, which make this one of those films where you actually forgot you were watching a period piece. But the battle sequences were probably the most visually compelling pieces in the entire film. Rather than dramatizing 18th century warfare through a modern lens, the film commits itself to how these men actually fought, with their rigid formations, their codes of honor, and standing your ground under fire in ways that feel almost incomprehensible today. And the contrast between that European discipline and the guerrilla warfare happening in the American wilderness also adds a layer of tension that makes the battles feel unpredictable. So all of that makes Young Washington one of the most immersive historical.
Yeah, the battle scenes he's showing here do look good. Yeah, they do look good.
Films that I've seen in a long time. But as great as those things were, that doesn't mean that this was a perfect movie. Probably the biggest issue for me was the pacing of the story arc, because the first 30 minutes or so felt like a series of scenes advancing the plot without any strong emotional anchor to carry you through. Now, I do understand that world building is necessary, but usually there's enough to latch onto early on to keep you invested. Here, it took a while to find it. And that's actually a broader caveat worth mentioning. If you're not already familiar with this period in American history, then some of the characters and their significance might not land the way that the film intended. And although they did a good job of communicating the historical reality...
Was that Kelsey Grammer? Sorry, let me look. Yep, I'm gonna go back one frame at a time. I'm doing the less than and greater than keys. That's a frame that you can do. That's a way you can move frame by frame on YouTube so that you can see something. And I saw that flashed by real quickly. Oh, come on, let me go backwards. Yeah, flashed by real quickly. Oh, you're not gonna. Oh, here it is. Okay, yeah, that's Kelsey Grammer. Yep. It flashed by so quickly. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that him. Oh, wow, he's looking old. But yeah. I haven't seen very much of him in years. I was a really big Frasier watcher back in the day when it was fresh on television. But yeah, he looks so old now. Oh wow, he looks so old. But it's not surprising. It's been a long time. Okay, let's keep going.
American history, then some of the characters and their significance might not land the way that the film intended. And although they did a good job of communicating the historical reality, there were times where this was done almost to a fault. The main place where this jumps out is in the accents. Sometimes the French accents were so thick that there were times where I genuinely couldn't follow what was being said.
Interest, Monsieur Bubby? I can't understand a word you said.
But thankfully, this wasn't a frequent problem.
I am French.
And also, if you're planning on taking your kids to see it, note that this is a wartime film. Now, this isn't anything close to...
Yeah, so I'm one of the people that I have an unusual opinion on accents in movies. I think that they do need to be downplayed and not as strong. I think understanding what the characters say is a priority, and also if they're supposed to be speaking some other language and they're actually speaking English with an accent. I think that that's actually not a good thing. Let me just pause a moment, sorry. Okay, sorry about that pause. Anyways, as I was saying, I really like to have accents downplayed and stuff for understandability and sometimes other reasons, like it can throw you out of the story and ruin your suspension of disbelief in some cases. But it's like telling the story in the movie. Storytelling must always come first, and if accents get in the way of that, then they just, they need to be downplayed a bit. And besides, the accents that would actually be in colonial America are different than the ones we would have today. Like, a French accent in colonial America would be different than ours. Even the American accent or the British accent back then would have been different than the British accent or the American accent now. So it's like you can't reach the goal anyways, so you may as well, step a couple more steps away from it. So that's my philosophy on that issue. Okay, let's keep going and watching the movie review here.
Something like Saving Private Ryan. They didn't show any gore and hardly any blood, but they do show people dying in combat. Okay, and now with the production notes out of the way, let's get into what this film actually revealed about how God works, because that's the part that I've been thinking about ever since I watched it. Now, since I went into this movie expecting a war epic, there were themes that I expected to encounter, like the chaos of battle and sacrifice and the cost of leadership, which is standard for this genre. But what I didn't expect to see were some biblical themes that were woven in, but not in a way that felt forced like you see in other Christian films. One of the clearest biblical themes throughout the entire movie that I didn't expect to see was the destructive power and the insidious nature of pride. Time and time again in this film, we see how pride can lead to ruin. From the British generals who thought that
pride leads to a fall. And that's one of the reasons why there's a certain thing that really should not have been named pride, at least not if you're trying to promote it. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going.
That they knew best, to officers being stubborn, and even to Washington himself, each time confirming what Proverbs warned thousands of years.
Oh, yep, pride goeth before a fall. Yep. Yeah, this usually gets shortened.
Years ago, that pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. And this movie shows you exactly why that warning exists, because pride doesn't feel like pride coming from the inside. It feels like confidence and being the only one in the room who actually gets it. But usually, by the time that you realize you were wrong, the damage has already been done. But what made that theme so interesting is that Washington survived it, but not because he was without fault. He wasn't. And the more you know about history, the more you know that he really wasn't. It was only by God's grace that he survived, and this is where his story goes from interesting to incredible, which is also the part of the story that almost nobody knows. The trailer starts with this.
What happened, Washington? All those bullet holes in your jacket.
How are you alive? I don't know.
Now, this wasn't
Oh, this one, I was wondering when he was going to get back to this. Now he's back to it. Okay, let's keep going.
something that they invented to make the movie sound cool. It's actually well-documented history. During this battle, every officer on horseback that day was killed or wounded. Nearly 1,000 men out of 1,400 men died in that battle. But Washington,
So two-thirds approximately of the men perished in that battle. Okay, let's keep going.
he rode back and forth across that field, delivering orders as the most visible, exposed target out there, and he walked away without a scratch. A British soldier watching from the field wrote after.
Yep, see, yeah, this was really well documented. And yeah, they deleted it from the history books. They're like, I guess we just have to, we have to get rid of it, because. Okay, let's keep going.
Afterward, that he expected at every moment to see Washington fall, and that nothing but the care of God's providence could have saved him. But this gets even harder to dismiss once you realize that the Native American warriors who were also actively trying to kill him reported that they were firing at him repeatedly and weren't able to hit him. One said he fired 17 times, and another said 11, and both of them gave up, and not because they ran out of ammunition, but because they became convinced that he was being protected by something or someone greater than themselves. And most importantly, Washington himself didn't call it luck. He wrote several letters and letters to his family saying that by the all-powerful dispensations of God's providence, he was protected beyond all human probability and expectation. Now, that's a story that was in American history textbooks for over a century before it was removed in 1934, and I'll let you decide what to make of that. So, Washington's story isn't ultimately about escaping death. It's about a God whose purposes aren't derailed by human weakness. Romans 8:28 says that God works all things together for the good of those who are called according to his purpose. And Washington's story shows us that all things include your worst moments, your most public failures, and the times when you were the most convinced that you were right, but were completely wrong. Now, it's not a perfect film by any means, but what
Now, that happens to everyone. Everyone has had that experience where you're convinced that you're right, and you eventually realize that you were wrong. And it might take years, it might even take decades, but you eventually do realize that. And it happens to every single person.
it gets right, it gets really right. So the movie comes out this weekend for the 4th of July, and if you do go, then go ahead and use my link down below where you can.
Oh, so was he given an early ticket or something because he's got a 500,000 subscriber channel? Is that what happened there? Maybe so. I know they will give early tickets to big YouTubers sometimes. Let's go. Of course, it's been out for a while now because I'm reacting to what is this, a month old? June 30th, yeah, and it's August 9th, yeah, almost a month and a half old. Yep, it's out now, but it might have already gone out of theaters by now.
Buy one and get one ticket free all the way through opening weekend. Now, I've never seen them offer anything like this before, so make sure you take advantage of it. And when you do, come back and tell me what you thought, especially if the historical timeline surprised you as much as it did me. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Okay, well, that was pretty cool. And it didn't say, oh, I almost forgot to do this. Let's thumbs it up. Okay, yeah, it didn't say everything that I expected it to say, but it was pretty good. It wasn't as good as the first 2 videos of his I watched. I saw a couple of really good ones. I guess that's why the algorithm was suggesting them. Let's look at the comments a little bit. And, yep, this one says, I went to a Christian private school and we were taught this story. Yep. Oh yeah, and this comment says, and consider this, with every mounted officer that fell, the number of shots at Washington increased. I have known of this for years. The date you gave of its removal from school books is very telling. And this one says, my dad told me this story growing up. He said even the American Indians were watching him be shot and the horses be hit, and he would not be. Yep. And this one, Keith Dean says there were multiple times George Washington had horses shot out from underneath him, bullets tearing through his clothes, was riding at the front of his troops, and he walked away. He knew God had a purpose for him. Yep. Yep. Okay, well, it does look like this is probably a good movie. I have not seen it, obviously, but it does sound like it's good. So maybe Angels. Yeah, this one says good one, Angel Studios. So maybe Angel Studios has maybe they've come back from their scandalous days. Hopefully so. Okay. So, whoopsie, I went to the wrong one. Where was I? Okay, this one here. Okay, so this was the Washington Miracle they deleted from history by Whaddo You Meme, and that was a reaction.